Hey, Tom, thanks for taking some time to chat with me today. Really excited to talk about you and your business and everything you've got going on. So, kind of without further ado, do you mind giving us a background on who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, what's up, Eamon? It's good to talk to you. Again, we had a good chat the other day. So my name is Tom Conlon. I am the founder of North Street Creative. It's an agency I started about 15 years ago. And in the last year, I've actually launched two additional businesses. One is called Circulant. It's a sort of SWAT team like agency that does really fast work for very sensitive corporate situations. And more recently, Moonvine, which is a sort of my foray into product. I've been a project guy my entire career, and so this is product, which is really interesting. So happy to sort of talk about how I got here, and the things I've learned along the way, because it's been 15 years, and I got the battle scars to prove it.
Yeah, you have so many cool things going on, Tom. I would love to hear like what at least initially made you decide to start your own thing and jump into your own agency.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot, I did not ever have a business plan or like mean to do this. It's one of those things where I was working in magazines, my magazine closed, and I just found myself in this situation where I was like, all right, well, I need to freelance, right? Number one, I loved my job. I worked at a magazine that I absolutely loved. I loved the brand, I loved the people I worked with, I loved what we were doing. And so when they closed the magazine, I was like devastated. I was like, oh my God, like, I'm going in weekends and nights to like hit deadlines. And like these people in England who those were our owners just like closed us. Right. And so I was young, I was in my 20s. So I was like, oh wow, like that's crazy. And I had one more job after that where I worked for AOL, which is a whole hilarious story because I ended up like quitting. They asked me not to quit and then they laid me off. So really funny situation there. But then I kind of just realized in that job that I couldn't really work for anybody else. I was like, man, I poured my heart and soul into this like magazine I worked with and they just ended it. And so I had trouble really like reconciling that as I was looking for jobs, right? As I was looking for like jobs at magazine. And then it just became this thing where I was freelance writing for magazines and I was also having people reach out to saying like, "Hey, I remember you used to do websites and logos. Do you still do that?" And I'm like, "Actually, I do now." Because I don't have a job. And that was really the beginning. I mean, I just started doing stuff on the side, and it was like at one point I was doing both. I was an active writer for magazines like Wired and Popular Science, and I was also doing freelance like logo and like light website work. That's when I kind of figured out what WordPress was and started building sites on that. And then all of a sudden it was like well, I've like got something here and it's the design stuff, not the writing stuff. The writing stuff was just like that's a hard to make a living that way. And I just found that wow, people are starting to pay me to do logos and websites and I really like this stuff. I'm going to start focusing more on this. And fast forward, like, I mean, that was it. And then I met a partner. I had a partner when I started. It was just this person I met, another designer. She was great. I was digital. She was more like print and branding. So we were a good team. And that was really like the start of the business. I don't think I would have done it myself, honestly. I mean, now I would do it in a second, but I think I just needed somebody to like be in it with me in order to like take that step to be like, oh yeah, we should like incorporate and like get a bank account together and stuff. And we did that in 2010. And I mean, that was the beginning. The partner's no longer in the business. We're still friends and all that. But yeah, that was really the beginning. And then, the way I really grew was an anchor client. I can talk about that at any point, but I really landed like a big client early on that just allowed me to like, do things.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that because your progression, from 2010 to now is obviously,
Yeah.
a nice arc there. So can you kind of talk about that? Like was that anchor client one of the keys to success? And if so, like, you know, can you talk us through that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting actually. I've learned a lot 15 years and I'd say that like the anchor client is a blessing and a curse. For sure. For sure. Like I started this agency and I suddenly had this one client that was feeding me more work than I'd ever seen and paying me more than I'd ever seen. It was just like this constant, like it was like, oh, we need a website, we need a logo, blah, blah, blah for their clients, right? And that's an important thing too. My anchor client was its own business that had clients. They were like a strategic communications agency. So that number one, if you're starting a business is like number one, like don't go like you can go to the end client, but it's actually much more efficient to find an agency that services your clients but does something different and latch onto them. So that's like what I did. I mean, I didn't intend to do it, but like all of a sudden I was flush and I needed to hire to like staff, to like support this. And it was great. And like all of a sudden it was like, wow, we can like legit get an office. Like we started in a co-working space, then graduated to a WeWork. And then in 2015, I think we had a lease. We signed a 5-year lease, down in the South Street Seaport. And it was awesome. But the thing is that the client could never like, the way that their business worked, they couldn't have us on retainer. And so it was like literally, some month, we just never knew how much work was going to come. And so you can imagine how hard that is to staff. And so
Yeah.
I kind of ran like that for a long time, dude. And it was kind of painful. It was like I had to have enough staff to support these projects for the anchor client that could come in at any second. But then I had to keep my staff busy with like the just sort of regular work, right? That like comes in. So I've since like my relationship with that client has ended. Again, friendly. It was just like they went through a huge merger process where they ended up having to like cut off external vendors and use their internal. But I don't know. I'd have to say if I had to do it again, I'm not really sure. Like it helped me. It helped me do certain things, but then it also trapped me. So it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like the benefits are obvious, steady flow of work is great, but then some of the downsides, like how do you staff? How do you budget? You're not able to necessarily do like a good forecast, it sounds like. How do
That you also can't say no, dude. You get yourself into a position where you can't say no. And that is when, they've got you and they know it, right? Like you depend on them and they know it. And it's not like they're malicious about it at all, but it's just, it colors the whole relationship, right? It's like they call you and they tell you this is what you're doing this weekend. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm getting paid like through the nose for it. That's fine. But like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's very interesting. If you had one piece of advice for somebody like potentially about to get in that same scenario, like what would it be? Like how like were there some ways that you mitigated it, or talk to us about that?
Yeah, I would just say never, that there's this sort of like business owners are always conscious about revenue concentration, right? And it's like, I think the general rule is like 20% and like you're in the danger zone, right? Like you don't want one client to be 20% or more of your revenue or else, they go away and you are in trouble. This client at some point was up to like 43, dude. So we were like, I mean, so like I would just say mind the store and make sure that you've got other customers coming in, right? Like it's amazing. Just 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 make sure that like here's the thing. What I didn't realize early enough was that they needed me as much as I needed them, right? Like who else are they going to call at a moment's notice? Who else is embedded in their business like they are, where it's like the shorthand is like they can literally email me 3 bullets and I can turn something around, right? So like I would just say remember that and establish expectations soon, which is that like, look, is this going to be the type of relationship where I drop everything and do everything for you? If that's the case, then we should probably talk about like an availability retainer. And I would actually, the way my business runs now, I would absolutely insist on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. An availability retainer, like if you want to be top priority, this is the deal. Something
Well,
like
it's like if I need to have a designer and a developer around at a moment's notice, then like I need to I need to float them, right? Like I need to be able to like pay them whether or not you use them. But like the lesson really is just diversify, right? Like just make sure that like all your eggs aren't in one basket. Like really just operate like look at your numbers and like occasionally just take away a couple of key clients and see what that would do to your revenue and like it's interesting and it makes you think.
yeah. Yeah, it's a great insight and very important for anybody running their own agency or, any type of practice. So Tom, you've kind of moved on from that phase and now you're entering like a brand new phase with two exciting companies. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit about both of those companies and what your setup looks like now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, both companies were just they're two different things and they were reactions to do different things. One is Circulant. Okay, it's this agency that I described before. It's a SWAT team, and essentially what I did was I took that business model, which I just described, which is that like one client that was like firing bullets at us, and we could like actually catch the bullets like the Matrix or something and like make them into things. We took that business, we took that model and said, yo, there's other agencies that need this, that are in this game that we're in. So let's be this like SWAT team that they can just call and we can charge whatever we want. And so it doesn't support itself as a business, meaning like it's really just an extension of North Street that is marketed very specifically. And if that's something I've learned over the years, like, riches are in the niches, it's so true. Like
Yeah.
you cannot be all things to all people. So do not. And that was the problem with North Street, was that we do amazing work that I'm extremely proud of, but it's hard to market yourself to a hospital system the same way you would to like a technology startup, right? Like you just cannot. You can try, but you can only be so effective. Now, if I go with Circulant and I say I build websites in, 72 hours for corporate stakeholder shareholder situations when like a vote is on the line and there's billions of dollars and you need it done like over the weekend. It's like, oh yeah, I either need that or I don't. And if I need it, I'm going to pay you a lot for it. So like, and I've actually gone down to like, there's specific conferences and specific like worlds that are just like, it's this world. And so Circulant is very, very relevant there. It's not very relevant in other places. And then my other company is Moonvine, and that's a totally different departure. I mean, honestly, that was a reaction to my business shrinking a little bit. We in 2025 this year, uh, that big client, that was sort of the January was the beginning of that, like, okay, we're done with you guys because we have to be, and we're using our internal team. So you're kind of on your own. And I literally asked my client in January, I'm like, okay, dude, forecasting wise, like, am I talking like a fraction of what we did last year? He's like, worst case scenario. He's like 0. I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, okay. So I was like, wow, what am I going to do here? And I realized that I had done a pretty bad job of caring for my existing clients. And I think that was a symptom of being a project-based business where you have to continuously feed the beast. It's like, great, like we got this website project, we'll take care of them, but really I'm concerned with like getting the next one. And when I don't know, I just sort of got to this point where I'm like, wow, like we should really double down on our existing clients instead. And it's such an obvious thing, but it's like until I had to, I didn't
Right.
really do anything about it, right? So that'd be my advice, like do things when you think about them. It was only when I got into a position where it's like, yeah, I have to do this, that I started thinking creatively. And I'm like, these reports that we give our existing clients are pretty light. It's like what your Google Analytics did. And I'm like, well, what if we just add some interesting stuff to it, and also just make it like we're speaking to the everyman or the every person, right? It's like you don't have to be a data scientist, you don't have to be a marketing exec to understand what we're about to tell you. The company's called Moonvine. It's like weekly just delivery that you get, and it just tells you basically like this is what happened on your website last week. We also looked at 2 of your competitors, and here's what they did. Here's sort of the 3 of your websites in the mix when it comes to like keyword visibility and all that. And we're going to start adding some really interesting things like changes your competitors made to their website and like job listings on other websites, just to like things to kind of give you an idea of like, okay, this is like what you're doing and this is where your competitors are doing out there in the market. So it's really interesting because it's like, man, I've never, I'm not a product guy, but it's going well and it's fun. And it's fun to like, I learned so many lessons in the 15 years of running North Street that like I'm doing all the things correctly, I think,
Yeah.
for Moonvine. So it feels really good. It's fun and interesting.
Moonvine's incredibly exciting. I'm excited to see like some of the outputs from that. And I think
Yeah,
it's
man.
such a good, it's a great product to fit certainly a need out there because, in my experience, I work with different marketing agencies and they all have different types of reporting. It would be really nice to just plug in, a plug and play one. So yeah, I think that's great. When it comes to like the tools and the systems that you're using to actually run your businesses, can you talk me through that? Like, is there a CRM you use? Is there a process you use? Can you walk us through kind of like the nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a couple of ways to answer that question. One is a business operating system. So if you're familiar with like EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system,
Of course.
Traction, that
Yeah.
is one. There's another one I think called like the Rockefeller Habits. There's a few of those. We run Traction. We don't run it religiously, but we do. We've been running it for probably 5 years, and I would just say it doesn't really matter what you run. I think you can run any of these systems. It's just that like running a system is it really figures out a lot of things about running a business that like you don't know because you've never done it before, right? And it's like, here's how to run meetings. Here's how to here's how to establish KPIs. Here's how to establish core values. Here's how to like keep the core values alive in your organization. And here's how to like, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, it's running like just a really tight organization, financially, culturally, and all of that. So I'd recommend a system like that of any kind. Traction is the one that we use. Check it out. It's interesting. And then there's other systems, right? Like I would just say that like this isn't necessarily a system, but like fractional CFO services, like from the beginning, I would like it's a non-starter that Moonvine has that from the beginning. Because like it was the Wild West for me back like for the first like I don't know 7 years of the business. I mean, I didn't even have a line of credit. Like I literally was like white knuckling it to every pay period. And, there's a difference between a bookkeeper and a CFO, and it's like, oh right, like the CFO is telling me what this stuff means and what I should do about it, and is also going to tell me when I'm going to run out of cash. So that's another very important thing. Fractional CFO oversight somehow, right? Line of credit and bank accounts in different banks. I'd say that like make sure I would say get a local bank for sure. Get a local bank and have a relationship with that banker. You won't believe what a difference that makes in terms of like terms you get, like line of credit, like just, I don't know, not forgiveness, just like sort of leniency. I don't even know what to say. And like, I mean, I had a local banker during like, I had Bank of America as my main banking account. I had Bank Rhode Island because we have an office in Providence. And I went to Bank of America, was like, you need PPP? Like, here's an 800 number. I was like, damn. Went to Bank of Rhode Island. They're like, oh, we'll put you in with our clients and we'll take care of you like right away. And so like, it is so important to have a banker you can like call and have lunch with rather than an 800 number.
That's good
Super
advice.
important. And then
Yeah.
systems, I mean, we run Asana. I mean, Asana is awesome. It's super powerful. It can be overwhelming, but like, honestly, it keeps everything so organized and it integrates into everything. We use like the Google Suite. We use Slack. Then we've got our whole technical stack of things that we use for our design, dev, and Moonvine stuff.
Right. Right. Awesome. That's all like great advice. I've never heard get a local banker, but the way you said it, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Instead of getting an 800 number, you're getting a human that you're eating or having coffee with. So
100%, dude.
uh,
100%.
that's great. When it comes to emerging trends, like in your space, what would you say is like the biggest impact, and how are you seeking to leverage it or mitigate it, et cetera? Talk me through that.
Imagine if my answer was like NFTs. No, I'm just kidding. So it's obviously AI. I have a creative agency. I've been doing it for 15 years. And my background's I was a content writer when I wrote for magazines, and I was a designer and a developer when I worked on the digital side of magazines as well. And so it's just like, it's just insane. The things that I've learned in 15 years, or the things that I've just seen collapse from like a 6-month project into a weekend project because of AI is
Mhm.
just like, it's amazing. And so anyway, it's AI is transformative on every level of my industry. And I can tell you how. One is it's being integrated into all of our tools, which is awesome, right? Like, man, I can like use Gemini to like search my entire Google like thing. We can prototype so easily. I mean, I can build websites so easily. It's like it's great. It makes everything faster. You get used to it. You get used to the speed, and then you actually get impatient. And I think my concern is that that's going to happen to clients. I think like, it is going to happen, right? They are going to start to expect things faster and cheaper. And you got to be prepared for that because it is coming and it's possible. I mean, it's just like, look, I'll be honest. I was afraid of AI until March of this year. I was like, okay, I use I use ChatGPT maybe once every couple weeks, and honestly, I'm avoiding the topic because I have an 18-person staff, and the thought of AI just keeps me up at night. So I'm just gonna like put my horse blinders on. When we lost that anchor client and we had to really reposition, and I started thinking about Moonvine, I'm like, well, this has to run on AI. I can't like I have to run it on AI. I can't staff this with humans, and I have to like it has to
Right.
scale. And so I got really into AI, and what I found was I'm no longer afraid of it, and I don't really think anybody should be, because I have just found that it's made me 100 times better at the things I already knew how to do, and it makes me able to learn things 100 times faster than I used to be able to. I mean, I was a developer. I could build WordPress websites, but that's about as far as I got. I mean, I did build some custom stuff like 20 years ago, but like right now I'm working on a React app. I've never coded React in my life, and like I'm using it, right? So it's like, and take that to someone who's, if you're a content person, okay, you can use these tools to like just do incredible things in terms of like capturing your voice, your values, and like replicating that at scale. And I don't mean like impersonally, I just think at scale means it like helps you reach more people faster, quicker. But as always, I think that we're in the nascent stages of this. It's like you got to be careful. You got to be careful what you put out there. It hallucinates for sure. And then I'd say I think my the last point that I've sort of come around to is this. I think a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to either replace their jobs or like surpass them, or just like pass them by and get caught up in it, or like if you haven't put your stake in the ground already, it's too late. And that's the way I feel with Moonvine sometimes. I'm like, damn, like I gotta move fast, 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 because like, this thing is gonna be invented by someone else tomorrow. Um, but what I've been reminding myself lately is the internet's been around for like what, 40, 50, 60 years, depending on what your definition of it is. And people are still creating new businesses every day that make millions and billions of dollars, right? And
Every
so
day.
right, like in 20 years, yeah, maybe you didn't catch the first, lightning strike, but people will be making billions of dollars off of businesses that haven't even been thought of yet.
There's a great HBS quote that says, it's a professor over there. He says, AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. So it's like, you kind of just need to embrace it. Just like we had to embrace the internet. If you don't embrace it, a couple
I
years
mean,
from
look at us now with the internet. You can't even get on a plane without your like a digital ticket. If you
now, right?
like, you see those people with printouts, and like the TSA treats them like they're like hostile. It's like, what are you doing? It's like digital everything, right? And so yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like, and my point is like, you don't worry. Like, you're not behind the ball. Like, it
right.
is emerging. Everything's changing. What was true yesterday is not true today. Like, I'm telling you, man, we started planning Moonvine in March, and we're doing stuff now that I thought was probably a year away.
Hmm.
And it's like, and again, I knew nothing before March. I'm just fooling around with it and learning it. Now I'm excited by it instead of being afraid of it.
I have a question from one of your previous comments. I want to get your take on this. How do you position your services in a world where clients might be expecting, with AI, things to be done way quicker and way cheaper? I actually have a client who is dealing with that with one of their clients. And although the value of what they're doing makes complete sense, they do have costs associated with running high volume, usage on AI. But then at the same time, their client thinks since it's AI, it should be way more cost effective. So like, what's your kind of take on how to deal with that with clients? I'd love to get your opinion on it.
Well, I think it's like, well, if it's so cheap, do it yourself. I think
Right.
I mean, honestly, like I wouldn't say it like that, but like it's the truth. I mean, look, I'm building Moonvine off of like existing APIs, right? Like and I'm slicing them and dicing them in like a unique way, but the fact is like this stuff already exists. And so, let's see. I think things are, if clients are expecting, there's price pressure. There's going to be price pressure on all of us. And I don't mean whatever industry your client's in, for sure. And I think what we have to hang our hat on now is expertise and ideas. I heard somebody say in a podcast, a while ago. I'm not going to take credit for it. They said, now anybody can do anything. And so it's the ideas that are going to win. Right. And so, like, you think about, like, yeah, you could do this yourself, but you're not going to do it. And I developed this proprietary system that does it. And honestly, it's my expertise that you're paying for. Like, yeah, you can go ahead, like, open up Claude and do whatever you want. But like, I know, and when it spits out the results, what are you going to do with them? Do you even know how to interpret them? It's like, no, come on. It's like the tools have changed things. It's going to make things, faster. But like, I'm not worth less.
I love it. That's such a great way to position it. And you're totally right. They're not going to do it. That's the reason why they're paying for it in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, dude, I get paid to make logos and websites with one of my businesses. You can spit that out in a second if if you want to and you don't care.
Right. Okay. So Tom, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, where do you want to be?
Yeah. So I mean, I want 200, 300 clients with Moonvine, right? That's like by the end of this year, we're going to get to the point where we are sending them out, like we're accepting credit cards on the site and we are sending them out. And right now we've got, like I said, we've got this in beta with our existing clients. We're giving it away for free. Oh, by the way, we are giving it away for free to any nonprofit or organization that directly supports autism. That's just a personal mission of mine and Moonvine's. So like, if that if that rings a bell with anybody here, like, come and reach me.
Amazing.
And so the plan is really just to grow. I mean, honestly, I know this is going to be a bigger business than North Street. It's one of those things that when I have conversations, people get it, and that is very encouraging. I do not ever plan to have a staff of, well, I may have a staff of 18, 20 again, but if I do, it'll be structured very differently than I had it before. Yeah, I'm just looking, it's really, I just want Moonvine to get out there, and I want to start like marketing it because I think it's fun to talk about, honestly.
Really exciting. If there was one obstacle or opportunity to get to that goal that you could just wave a magic wand and fix, like, what would it be?
Um, I mean, honestly, my answer is someone who's working in AI. I don't really know much about like agents. I haven't really worked a lot with agents. And so just this idea of like, I mean, maybe I'm working with agents a little bit through my coding program, but like just the idea of having these bots, like not just chat, doing things, like actually doing things. And we're playing with that with Moonvine, obviously, but I'm not doing that directly. But I think, like, you think about agents for every part of your business, and it starts to get exciting. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it does. All right, Tom, any advice for any coach, consultant, or aspiring coach and consultant that wants to get to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely niche, right? I mean, you have to. There's just so many people out there, and like, if you're just all things to all people, you don't resonate. And so you don't have to like totally define yourself as this one thing, but make sure you can talk specifically about it in detail to specific audiences. And I think you'll find, like look, take law firms. There's no shortage of law firms in New York City alone. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Great
there
advice.
you go.
Tom, if somebody wants to find out more about you, Moonvine, North Street, how do they find you? What's the best way?
Hit me at tom@moonvine.io. Check us out at northstreetcreative.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And yeah, look forward. I mean, anybody, seriously, reach out. I'm, especially for the nonprofit Autism Connection, I'm dead serious about that.
Amazing. Amazing. Tom, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and look forward to continuing our conversation in the future, and excited for this to air, and hopefully some people reach out to you about Moonvine, especially those working with autism nonprofits.
Yeah, man. Awesome chat, dude.
Awesome.